Have you ever thought about a really fond memory? And yet, as much as you know it was great and you had a good time, in your mind it's a little blurry. Like you know who was there and kind of what it looked like, but not quite clear enough to make it out. Thankfully, I feel like I might have found the solution to this problem. And it starts with documenting your life, which I'm sure most of you are doing to some degree, whether that's with a camera or just on your phone. However, I would argue that scrolling through thousands of photos on a 5-inch screen isn't the most ideal way to truly view the memories that you've captured. But instead, you should curate your most important experiences into something physical. So funnily enough, what I'm talking about was just common practice for decades and basically the norm for everybody. When you sent away your photos to get developed, you would get back your prints. And without the means to view your photos digitally, or at least with any real quality, your best option was just to make a photo album. When you think of a photo album, you might just think of something quite old that's filled with embarrassing photos that your parents took of you. But now that we're older, we've got the ability to choose exactly what we want our album to look like. Nowadays, we've got the ability to take endless amounts of photos and store them on things like hard drives or even cloud-based services. And yes, they definitely do have their perks, but to me, it just sometimes feels a little bit soulless. Now, of course, it's just not practical to print the amount of photos that the average person would take these days, but then again, who would actually want to flick through photo after photo of selfies and whatever you had to eat that day? However, if you create an album essentially full of your peak experiences, you've then got like a go-to place for insane nostalgia, but it kind of acts as like a true highlight reel which spans years of your life. So that is basically what I'm gonna do. Let me explain my plan, and of course you can adapt this for whatever works best for you if you'd like to do this as well. For me, I'm gonna purely be choosing the photos that I've taken on film over the last 7 years. And not only because they're my favourite photos, but generally when I've done something cool or visited a new place, that's the camera that I've had with me. On top of that, whenever I get my photos developed, I've never chosen to have them printed. I always just get a download link to a folder, so I'm actually quite excited to finally see them not on a screen. But first, I need something to actually put these photos into. Okay, so I've been looking at photo albums online for a little while now, and I'm not gonna lie, they don't look great. I think usually because they're bought for things like weddings and baby albums and stuff like that, the designs on them are all quite specific and not really the kind of thing that I'm looking for. But yeah, just trying to find one that's like good quality but also relatively plain has been quite difficult. Okay, so I'm actually pretty happy with the album. The quality definitely isn't incredible, but it's more than good enough for what I need, and it's just pretty simple. So yeah, that'll do the job. Now to actually go through all the photos I've taken and work out which ones I'd like to include. There really isn't a formula for this. I'm just gonna go off vibes and just kind of try and pick something from every phase of my life. Some will be pretty good photos and some will kind of suck, but the whole point here is just to find ones that make me feel some kind of emotion. So of course I could just choose a website online and get them delivered straight to my door, but staying true to the old-fashioned trend, I want to go to a photo shop and actually get them printed in person. Not only so I can see the quality and make sure I'm happy with them before I go ahead and choose to print over 100 photos, but I'm just kind of impatient and I want them now. Right, so I now have 142 photos ready to get into the album, and I'm just going to go and put them in chronological order because that just kind of feels like the best way to do it, really. This was actually a really nice process to do because in putting it together, I kind of got to reminisce over the photos as I was putting them in. And I have to admit, there definitely is something different about being hands-on with these photos as opposed to just seeing them on my laptop or on my phone. And that'll definitely be the case years down the line when these images all feel even more nostalgic to me. So just going through some of my favorites now. First one, got this shot in my old apartment, which was so tiny. It was effectively just like one room, and yeah, this is kind of like my day, you know, just open up my laptop, make some pretty sad looking lunch, and yeah, just day after day. It was in the lockdown, so yeah, this photo, obviously not a great photo, but it just kind of like takes me back to complete simplicity of just like sitting in this tiny apartment, trying to get stuff done on my laptop and eating pretty simple food. So yeah, this photo definitely transports me back into that little apartment. Okay, so this next one, again, nothing special about this photo. It's just some cool patterns on the sand. During the lockdowns again, I used to take these really long walks on the beach. No one there. It was just cool to like take it in and just sort of really give my attention to like the local landscapes, because I've been really guilty of like not really making the most of it. But in that time, I really made sure to like get out and yeah, see where I live. And yeah, kind of takes me back, that one. So this next photo I took in Norway on a road trip last year, and the trip was absolutely incredible. It was like 10 days of driving on these insane roads, just seeing incredible landscapes. And I think photos like this are really important, because when you go on trips like this, you kind of know what it feels like and you vaguely know what everything looked like, but seeing photos like this, it can really take you back to like that exact day, that exact road, what you did. And yeah, that's kind of what this photo does for me. Okay, so this one's quite cool. I shot this in Italy, in Turin last year, and it's in a tram. I don't have trams where I live, so this is quite unique for me to get to go on one. And yeah, just kind of position myself at the back of the last carriage, shot through, and yeah, got everyone just sitting about, getting up to whatever they're doing that day. And yeah, me being a tourist, snapping away at the back of the carriage. I did take a landscape shot, but I think this is the best one. Okay, so this is a shot of my friend doing like quite a cool jump thing, I guess. You can see he's got his film camera in his hand as well. We were just out taking photos in a national park here in the UK, and yeah, he just told me he was going to jump, and I took a shot and kind of got it, I guess. But yeah, it just kind of reminds me of yeah, just driving around, getting some cool shots, and yeah, just hanging out. So yeah, good memory. Okay, so this one is very nostalgic for me. This is essentially the hallway in the building where I had my first job as a creative. I started as like a studio assistant, just doing anything that I could, just trying to be helpful, and kind of gave me the platform to go on and become a filmmaker. So yeah, like really good memories thinking about this building and the hundreds upon hundreds of times I would have had to have walked down this hallway. So yeah, I think at the time I probably thought this photo was going to be kind of cool with like the 3 lights in a row and the archway, but yeah, I don't think the photo is that great, but it just kind of takes me back to that time, and yeah, gives me some good memories and makes me smile. Okay, so now I've finished the album, and was it worth it? Would I suggest that you go and create one yourself? The answer is absolutely yes. The process of going through which photos to print, getting hands on and just putting it all together is really nice as well. And as silly as it might sound, and yes, it probably makes me sound old, but sometimes it is just nice to look at a proper photograph. Plus, if all of my tech gets corrupted or just dies on me or gets stolen, I've still got this, which I think is pretty cool. And on top of that, in leaving spaces for more photos in the future, it's just kind of giving me that incentive to go out and do cool stuff and to capture it, to try and fill up the album. So in total, all of the photos printed out and the album together have cost me around about £50, which I think is pretty good. And considering what I do for a living, I'm pretty sure I could try and call it a business expense. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.